I have to ask the question, did the Pittsburgh Steelers miss Coach Tomlin in the draft room? Because what I saw, what it looked like, the draft picks, everything just looked a little bit discombobulated. Maybe I felt discombobulated as a Steelers fan, but when I was thinking about some of the draft picks, some of the things they did, thinking about day one, thinking about day two, thinking about day three, I am not sure what the Steelers are doing. I am not sure what the Steelers' plan is. Maybe this is the new era without Coach Tomlin, is that things are going to happen and I'm not going to quite understand them yet until I have a few years of the new coach. And if that is what I'm dealing with, if that is what I'm going through, I have a lot of questions about that, because let's just start with the obvious. The Pittsburgh Steelers had 12 draft picks. 12 draft picks heading into this draft. They had 12 decisions to be made. They had opportunities to move up in the first round. They didn't. They had opportunities after they made their pick to come back into the first round. They didn't. They had an opportunity in the second round to come back into the second round. They didn't. They had opportunities to move up in the second round, and they didn't. My other issue is, too, it felt like if you're going to go receiver, and then that doesn't happen because of the Eagles thing, that's fine that it didn't happen. But if your plan is to go receiver and then you don't go receiver on your first pick, are you telling me the next person on their board was an offensive tackle from Arizona State? Like, that was the next transition, going from a receiver that everybody knows that we need and then going to get a tackle from Arizona State? That was how that sequence was supposed to go. That is the sequence they had drawn up on their board. I don't understand that, and I don't believe that. It feels like, to me, the Steelers were caught off guard and they didn't really have a plan B and they didn't know how to pivot. As soon as Lemon wasn't there, it felt like they didn't know what to do next. And so they picked a guy that they might like. I'm not saying they might not like him, but if that's the case and he was that high up on their board, why did they not trade up to go make sure that they got who they wanted to get? It all felt very passive. The entire draft, every single thing the Steelers did felt very passive. It just felt like they were waiting for things to happen to them. And it felt like they went into the draft not really realizing what they needed, because waiting into the second round to get a receiver is weird to me when you have that many draft picks. And then you start using the draft picks to randomly come up in the same round when you didn't come back in round one and you didn't come back in round two. To me, when you're trying to build a team to compete, when you're trying to build a team to do everything you want a team to do, you go do those things. You don't wait for people to come to you. You go get the people that you need. The Steelers didn't go get anyone, per se. That was disappointing. We were the host city, and it just felt like we were just there along the ride, hoping that we got to pick who we wanted to pick, and that is not okay with me. I'm just popping in here to say, hey, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Why are you watching content and you're not subscribed to my channel? Do me a solid, subscribe to my channel, like the video, and I will disappear from your screen, and I will let you get into your video. So coming into this draft, we needed players that were actually going to play and going to contribute, specifically on the offense, because our offense has been struggling for a few years. And so what you do is you go get a tackle that is a project, that everybody says this is a project. He's athletic and he's all the things, but he's a project. So is he going to have an impact year one? We don't really know, because he's a project. Then you finally go get a wide receiver in round two, and then you don't do anything else. That is so weird to me. And then when you do go get another offensive lineman, he's a guard from Iowa, and everybody would tell you that that guard probably might play. I'm a little bit confused of how we're picking, why we're picking, what we're doing, why we're doing it. I don't feel like the Steelers had a plan, and maybe I don't know enough to know what the plan is. Maybe the plan is some 3D chess thing that I've never even thought about, and they have a long plan to figure out different things. At this point, though, for years, we have been yelling about receivers. We've been yelling about playmakers. That is something that the Steelers offense has needed, is playmakers. You let go of Calvin Austin, okay, fine. But what is his replacement, and how are we replacing talent that we did lose? That is my biggest concern. And then we've always needed wide receivers. And so because we've always needed wide receivers, we have a draft where you go get one for sure solidified wide receiver. Is Pittman Jr. enough? So now we have DK Pittman Jr. and this new draft pick. Are we banking on other guys hopefully showing up? What is our actual plan at wide receiver? It is mind-boggling to me. And then Why didn't we get another linebacker? There's a lot of things the Steelers did in this draft that I don't understand. Maybe I'm not supposed to understand it. I don't know. But let me just show you the draft picks for those of you that are watching that might not know who the Steelers picked. Let me just go through those things just so you can see how ridiculous this is. All right, so if you look at the draft list, here are the people that we drafted. So we drafted an offensive tackle. We drafted a receiver. We drafted a quarterback. We drafted a cornerback. We drafted a guard. We drafted another receiver, but a lot of people are saying he's going to be a punt returner. So there's that. We drafted a fullback, which is actually interesting because I believe Indiana used him as a tight end, but we are drafting him as a fullback. Okay, cool, whatever. And then we draft a defensive lineman that, to be quite frank, nobody really knows, from Notre Dame, because he doesn't have a lot of stats. He didn't even have anything on the draft document. And so, yeah, I don't even know if anybody even knows who that guy is. And so we drafted him. So there's that. And then we also drafted a safety from Oklahoma. I actually happen to like the safety. And then at the very end, we have the running back. We drafted another running back, which I'm not sure why we needed another running back, but we drafted another running back. So I don't really know what to say to that, but here's the people that we drafted and here are the things that we got. So yeah, there's that. Looking at that list, I am not sure what the plan was. And therefore I'm not sure if they executed it. As a fan, I don't feel good about it. As a fan, there's a lot of things I wish we would have done, and it's just disappointing coming into this draft, having that many draft picks, having a need for somebody on offense that could be dynamic and make plays and do things. I don't really understand it, but I will say this. There's two things that I actually really liked that we drafted. Obviously, the first one's going to be the wide receiver. I love the wide receiver. We needed him. So let me just say it. We needed him. I love it. And then the other thing is, too, I appreciate that they drafted Drew Aller in the third round. I didn't want him in the first or the second, but if you draft him in the third round, that's fine with me. And I feel like if Mike McCarthy is going to say, hey, this is my guy, I want him on this team, perfect. I have no problem with that pick at all, third round. You can't sit around and wait for Aaron Rodgers to make a decision and so not making a move because of Aaron Rodgers. So I appreciate the fact that they went out and got another quarterback. That's amazing to me. And then I did like the guard from Iowa. Everyone else, I have no idea what is going on, especially with the first round pick. When there were still a lot of receivers available. You don't even take a receiver in the first round. It felt like a slap in the face. I took that personally. I probably should not have taken that personally, but I did take it personally because I'm looking at this roster and I'm looking at this team, and for years, we've had the same issue. For years, we've had an issue with our offensive line and we've had an issue with our wide receiver room. And it just seems like we cannot get those two things right. And because we can't get those two things right, we're continuing to have moments where I am looking at this team and I'm looking at this roster and I am thinking WTF. I am definitely thinking WTF. Today, I was definitely thinking that after the draft, and I don't even know what to say at this point. Mike McCarthy, in one of his press conferences, came in and said he likes the roster. He likes the Steelers roster. He likes everything we have on the roster. That actually has proven to be true. We haven't really gotten rid of a lot of our staple pieces. And in the offseason and free agency, they made a lot of moves that made sense to me. So if that is true, I can see where that is true. And I can see where I feel like we have certain needs and he doesn't feel that way. Okay, cool. I will give you that. I will just act like I'm just going to give you that off just head coaching prowess and things that I don't know about. Fantastic. The other issue is, what if I'm right? What if I am 100% right and that draft, we just wasted it? What if it turns out that those draft picks that we just got are all for nothing and it was a waste? We really won't know now. We really won't know for a while if they are going to be a waste, but I just don't understand them. And anytime I can't understand something and anytime I can't make sense of something, it bothers me. And right now it is bothering me. And maybe it's because I miss Coach Tomlin. Maybe it's because I miss that certainty. And maybe it's because I thought they were going to do something that they didn't do. And so now I'm just wondering, what am I missing? What am I missing and what are they seeing? And I hope that I am missing it and I hope that they are seeing it. At this point, it feels like the Steelers don't have a plan. It feels like the Steelers are trying to figure out what they want to do. And it feels like we're just all over the place. It almost feels like we're trying to get our footing and we're trying to get our bearings. And that's scary to be in that place. The other thing, I'll be honest and say, that is bothering me is I make it a point. I make it my business to know a ton of college football athletes. I make it my business to not only know the stars, but I want to know the guys behind the stars. I make it my business to know those things when I'm watching them play college football during the season. When I looked at some of the guys that the Steelers had drafted, I didn't know who they were. Now, I am not the end all be all to know everything. I understand that. I am not Miss Know-It-All. I am not Miss, like, I don't have a board at home that I'm working through and checking people off. That's not what I do. But it does mean something to me that I at least know who you are, or I can at least remember you making a play, or I can just at least remember something being talked about you in a press conference or a team preparing for you, or I can just remember you by name recognition. That is important to me. That is my personal level of importance. And so when we draft players that I'm like, oh, okay, that name rings a bell to me, it makes me feel like, okay, we're getting players that I'm familiar with. There's a few players that got drafted for the Steelers team. I don't know who they are. I don't even know anything about them. And again, that is scaring me. So like I always say, I don't have to know what is going on. I don't have to know the plan. I am not in the room. I am not getting paid to know. But as a fan, this draft doesn't make me feel more confident about this coaching staff. This draft doesn't make me feel excited to see what happens. This draft is actually making me hold my breath. And it brings me back to my original question. Did the Pittsburgh Steelers miss Coach Tomlin and his consistency in the draft room? Because even Omar Khan's press conference after the draft was a little bit shaky to me. Made me feel a little bit worse listening to him talk after the draft. That is also concerning. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know what I have gotten wrong. Let me know some picks that I am just not realizing how great of picks they are. Let me know what direction you think the Steelers are headed in, because right now I am trying to figure out what I think the plan is, and I'm trying to manage my expectations, and it's not going very well. So free agency, check. Draft, not great. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, I'll see you in my next video.